Back. Actually dedicate the Shiur the memory of the great nephew of mine who tragically passed away this week. Vayechi and Ami, the name a minute ago. And Ami Pinchas Eliezer Halevi, little 5-year-old boy. So, it helps to be only simchas by you. It's Parshas Vayechi this week, and Parshas Vayechi includes Yaakov Avinu giving his parting words to his children, and he says, "Hey, gather. I will tell you what will happen to you at the end of the day." And then he starts changes the subject. So our Chachamim point out that Yaakov Avinu's intention originally was legalis asakes. His intention was to reveal to his children the end time of the coming of Mashiach. And the Shekhinah departed from him. So he realized that it wasn't Hashem's wish that he should do this. And therefore, he changed the subject and he began giving blessings to his children and not come back to the subject of the timing of the coming of Mashiach. So the obvious question is, what was Yaakov Avinu thinking? Why did Yaakov Avinu think that it was a good idea to reveal to his children and his grandchildren the appointed time of the coming of Mashiach? At the time, we don't know. But today we know that since that time, thousands of years have passed. And we hope that Mashiach is coming on Wednesday, Parshas Vayechi, the 15th of Tevis, 5,784. But he didn't come yesterday. He definitely didn't come 100 years ago. He definitely didn't come 1,000 years ago. He didn't come 2,000 years ago. So Yaakov Avinu was going to tell his children that Mashiach is going to come in 3,000 years' time, more than 3,000 years' time. How would that have inspired them? If anything, that would have made a major depression. Why would Yaakov Avinu have thought that there was any benefit in sharing this information with his children? Especially since we learn in time, brought from our sages, that the patriarchs, the matriarchs, they were a chariot to the divine, which means their subservience to the will of Hashem was so great that was their entire existence. So only thing Yaakov wanted was the Hashem one. So obviously Hashem did not want him to reveal the end time of the coming of Mashiach, and it makes sense because that would have put them off. So why did Yaakov Avinu want to do that? How could Yaakov Avinu want something that is different from what Hashem wants if he is their Merkava to the Shechin? So obviously we have to say that there is, from Hashem's point of view, there is benefit. Therefore, also from Yaakov Avinu's point of view, there is benefit in sharing this information. And nevertheless, the conclusion is that it's best not to. So we have to try to figure out what would the benefit be. So there are those Mefarshim that want to say that Yaakov Avinu trusted that his children were great tzaddikim, and they wouldn't be put off. They would serve Hashem for the right intention, not for the reward, and they would handle the information without being put off. Why did the Shekhinah depart from him then? Because there was a concern that if all 12 of his children would have this information, it would likely leak through to others. Maybe his grandchildren would find out. They weren't on such a high motivation. For them, it could have cause damage. And therefore, the conclusion was best not to reveal it. That only explains why it wouldn't have caused that much damage in Yaakov Avinu's opinion, because he trusted that his children were very great tzaddikim and they could handle it. But what benefit did he think they would? Doesn't answer that part of the question. So, one of the ways of understanding this is based on what it says in the Zohar. In the Zohar, it says, we say every morning in the Shiur, in the Yashir, we say to be Einmai v'sita Einmai mahar naplas. We're going to bring them and you're going to plant them in the mountain of them. Lachain l'shivtecha ba'alta Hashem, a dwelling place for you. You have established Hashem. Mikdash Hashem came to the Dechad Mikdash. Your hands Hashem have established. Hashem yimlech lo'olam v'ad. Hashem will reign forever. So the Zohar explained that the original intention, plan A, was that Yetzias Mitzrayim, the exodus from Egypt, and the subsequent entry into Eretz Yisrael, should be the final redemption. There isn't any need to have any more exiles and more redemptions. That would be the final redemption. So straight from the splitting of the Red Sea, the plan was that after receiving the Torah at Sinai, the Jewish people were going to enter directly into Eretz Yisrael. And over there, they were going to be planted in the mountain of your inheritance, and the dwelling place for your presence. You have to establish Hashem, the Mikdash that Hashem, your hands have established. So Hashem himself is going to build the Beis Hamikdash. And when Hashem himself builds the Beis Hamikdash is forever. As it says, Hashem yimlech lo'olam v'ad, Hashem will reign forever and ever. It's only because the Jewish people sinned that Plan B came into effect, and that the entry into Eretz Yisrael was delayed, and the entry into Eretz Yisrael was a temporary entry, and it was followed by further exiles, till the exile that we're in today, and we're still waiting for Mashiach. But had Plan A have gone ahead, then the entry into Eretz Yisrael, right after the exodus from Egypt, would have been the final redemption. So perhaps when it says, Bikish Yaakov Levalos Zaketz, Yaakov wanted to reveal the end time of the redemption, he wasn't referring to the end time of the redemption in Plan B, if we sin. He was referring to the end time of the redemption of Plan A. And the Jewish people are meritorious. That the idea is that Yetzias Mitzrayim is going to be the final redemption. And Yetzias Mitzrayim was only 197 years away from the time in which Yaakov Avinu was giving this information. So imagine Yaakov Avinu reaches out to his children. He tells them, Kindle, keep up the good work, because we're nearly there. In 197 years, we're entering into Eretz Yisrael, and there's going to be the final redemption of Mashiach and a final and eternal Beis Hamikdash, and Hashem's glory will spread over the whole world. Everything it's nearly ready to go. So keep it up. Make sure that we don't slip. Make sure that we don't get into anything that get involved in anything that will Chas v'Shalom delay this, because things are fantastic. We're nearly there. So Yaakov Avinu's intention was to inspire his children and his grandchildren to serve Hashem with joy and enthusiasm in the knowledge of the fact that the final redemption is literally around the corner. However, the question is, 197 years is not such a long time when you compare it to 3,000. But when you think about the people that were actually there at the time, people don't normally live 197 years. It means that the people that were alive at the time were not going to live to see the redemption. It was only their children and children's children, and perhaps a few generations ahead, that were going to merit the redemption. So surely that also would be something difficult to have. So if Yaakov Avinu would have revealed to his children and his children's children alive at the time that the redemption is 197 years away, that also could have not had such a positive influence, because 197 years is a number of generations, which means that we won't live Chas v'Shalom to see it, and it's only future generations that are going to live to see it. So how do we deal with that? So really, there's a famous Gemara. Gemara asks on the pasuk in Tanakh, which we quote and we read in the Torah of Shiur and Atemte, Ani Hashem be'ita achishen. In its time, I will hasten. But the Gemara asks, is it in its time, or will it be hastened? Will Mashiach come in its time, or will Mashiach be hastened? The Gemara answers, depends if zachu or lo zachu. We're meritorious or not meritorious. If we're meritorious, it will be hastened. If not meritorious, Mashiach will come anyway, but it will come in his time. Which means that even when there's a fixed time for the coming of Mashiach, that doesn't mean he can't come earlier. If we're meritorious, we'll bring him early. In fact, by Yetzias Mitzrayim, originally they were told 400 years. Right? 400 years. Gay years of Achabat Elohim, your seed will be foreigners, strangers, and land not there. Abodim, enslaved, afflicted, 400 years. And then the 400 years turned into 10 years. And the number 400 was counted from the birth of Yitzchak. So it says, why was that changed? Because the Kaishi Hashibah, the difficulty of the enslavement, was so difficult that the quality of difficulty was added into the mix And that brought forward the redemption early. So if the difficulty and persecution was able to bring the redemption forward, then surely the merits of the Jewish people could bring the redemption forward. So what Yaakov Avinu was actually saying to them was that even though the end date is 197 years from now, but you have it within your power to bring that forward. So if you realize that the end date is only 197 years, and every good deed that you do brings it forward. So if we can all get our act together, if we can all really throw ourselves into this project, all the sons and the grandsons, all the children and the grandchildren of Yaakov Avinu throw themselves into this project of accumulating as many good deeds as you could possibly can, we could actually make the redemption come in our lifetime. How inspiring and uplifting that would have been. So Yaakov Avinu wanted to part with his children with a message that they could achieve the coming of Mashiach in their lifetime. And this would have inspired them. This would have given them such a shot in the arm, such an inspiration, such a joy that would have brought them in to be so meritorious that they surely would have achieved it. And that's why Yaakov Avinu, who wants what's good for his children, good for Klal Yisrael, good for the world, and what Hashem wants to reveal the end time of the coming of Mashiach, so that his children will be inspired to do the maximum that they can possibly do to make it happen in their lifetime. And he believed that that would actually happen. And this was also the will of Hashem, because Hashem wants goodness and holiness and godliness to be manifest in the world, ASAP. And this was the plan that would have made it happen in the best way and the fastest way, very quickly. But then the question is, if that's the case, why did the Shekhinah depart from him? Why wasn't there a cooperation from above in this incredible plan that Yaakov Avinu had up his sleeve? Why did Hashem hold him back from doing it? The answer to this is very interesting. There is a concept that everything we do in life has siyata d'shma, has assistance from above. Without divine assistance, you can't achieve anything. However, in divine assistance, there's two general categories. There is a situation of divine assistance where the person feels that he's flying on a cloud. He doesn't feel in control. He doesn't feel that he's actually doing anything. Welcome. He doesn't feel that he's actually doing anything. It's like being led from above. He feels that the divine inspiration is coming with such intensity that it's just it's carrying him on a cloud. And there's another possibility, and that is that obviously everything has to be done with divine assistance. But the person doesn't feel the divine assistance. He doesn't see the divine assistance. He feels his efforts, and he feels that what he's achieving is the product of his efforts. So when a person is working hard, and when he feels that what he's achieving is the product of his efforts, so he owns his achievements much more than if it's given to him as a gift from above. If he's being carried on a cloud. The Gemara says, the person appreciates a small measure that he himself created, that he himself achieved, rather than a larger measure that somebody else achieved, that was achieved for him by somebody else. So a person likes, let's say, something that a person created himself, his own handiwork. A person will have a special appreciation for that handiwork, even if it's less effective than something greater that somebody else made. Yeah, a homemade challah is a homemade challah. You can't imitate it, right? Even though the bakery might do I don't know what, but it's not homemade. You didn't make it. You made it. You have a special appreciation for it. So this is the principle of so when it comes to doing good deeds, it can also be in two possibilities. There is sometimes the person is doing a good deed. It's hard for them. They have to work hard at it. They know that they have to work hard. And when it's achieved, they feel a certain sense of achievement. I did it. I achieved it. Despite the challenges and despite the hurdles, I got there. So they feel a certain sense of achievement. But there is sometimes when all the hurdles and all the distractions just disappear, and I get carried on a cloud to my destination. Then I'm very thankful for the cloud that's carried me to my destination. But I don't feel any sense of achievement. It's not my work. So the ultimate redemption, in order for it to be the redemption that the Jewish people want and deserve, and Hashem wants for us, it needs to be a redemption which is achieved through our effort. If it's going to be a redemption that is achieved through a magic carpet that's going to just carry us into a world of merit and inspiration, and it's going to happen without us actually having to work at it, then it's a gift from Hashem, but it's not our achievement. So had Yaakov Avinu succeeded in inspiring his children and grandchildren to appreciate that the redemption is so near, it's about to happen, and you could, with your merits, you can make it happen during your lifetime, and you can really achieve that and really get them on the right page, there would have been such a wave of inspiration that it would have been like being carried on a magic cloud. And that would not have been their achievement. The Eibishter wanted that the Geula should be the achievement of Klal Yisrael with their hard work. Of course there's going to be Siyata D'Shmaya, of course there's going to be divine assistance. But it should be the divine assistance should be in the background, and in the foreground should be the work of the Jewish people. And therefore, the Shechina was withdrawn from Yaakov, so that he should not reveal this information to his children. So that his children shouldn't have this magical inspiration carrying them. So they should have to work at it. And when you work at it, then whatever is achieved, even if it takes a little bit longer, what's achieved will be your achievement. And that is much more valuable. Take it one step further. We're talking here about an eternal redemption. What does eternity mean? Eternity means not just something that lasts and lasts and lasts and lasts and lasts. Eternity is a definition on its own. Something that's here today, gone tomorrow. Even when it's here today, it's not properly here. It's not steadfast. It's here today because the circumstances today are suitable. Tomorrow's circumstances are not suitable for it, so it's gone tomorrow. Eternity means when something is steadfast beyond all changes. Whatever happens, this is the reality, and it's not going to change for anything. So when a person's avodas Hashem, when a person's service of Hashem comes through some kind of an external high that inspires them, then as long as that external high is there, they're on the right track. When the external high fades, you don't know where they're going to be. So their avodah doesn't have the sense of eternity to it, and therefore the reward is not an eternal. What we want to achieve over here is an eternal redemption. In order to have an eternal redemption, you need a level of commitment that is not wavering, that is not dependent on where the wind is blowing, not dependent on whether today I woke up inspired or I didn't wake up inspired. I need to be steadfast on my commitment that whether I am inspired or I'm not inspired, I'm going to see it through anyway. And the avodah of the Jewish people needs to be, in order to merit the redemption, the avodah has to be in such a way that it's not just a wave of inspiration. It has to be a commitment that is steadfast. And that commitment that is steadfast will bring about a redemption that is steadfast. And therefore, Yaakov Avinu's plan to inspire the Jewish people with this magical inspiration that's going to really get them going, and they're going to do the maximum merit, the redemption, could not have really achieved the ultimate eternal redemption that the Eibishter had in mind for us. Because the inspiration would have been, the Avodah would have been completely dependent on an external inspiration, and therefore it wouldn't have that measure of eternity. In order for the redemption to truly be the redemption that HaKadosh Baruch Hu has in mind for us, the eternal redemption, it requires our Avodah, which is steadfast and not dependent on which way the wind is blowing. And therefore, the Shekhinah was departed from Yaakov Avinu. He shouldn't reveal that information. That Yidden should work hard and achieve those merits that are necessary to bring the Geula on our own, through our own efforts. Of course, we have Siyata D'Shmaya in the background. We have divine assistance in the background. Without Siyata D'Shmaya, you can't achieve anything. But the Avodah should be the Koyach Atzma. It should be with our own efforts. And in this way, we're going to bring about an absolutely eternal redemption that's going to be steadfast and continuous and ongoing and complete, in the sense that it's absolutely complete. So it's worth the various challenges and ups and downs of our history to achieve the ultimate redemption where the Eibishter had in mind, which is to be truly an eternal redemption, an infinite redemption, and which, as Hashem, we're going to merit very, very soon. And that explains both sides of the coin, why Yaakov Avinu thought it might be a good idea to reveal this information and inspire his children to go for it and bring the redemption right. But the Eibishter said, I want a really eternal redemption. And the really eternal redemption has to come dafka through working on their own steam, on their own efforts, and that is going to need to take a little bit longer. Yes. Okay. Okay. So Mrs. Goldblatt is asking a very good question, which I'm going to repeat. Question is, we're saying that we need to work hard to achieve what we have to achieve. We have to do what we have to do. How does that, and nevertheless, we're saying that Mashiach is imminent. So how does that fit with the fact that we know that there are Yidden at the moment that are still not completely Shemer Torah mitzvahs? And how does that all work together? So the Rabbi actually asks this question. And he answers it in three-pronged answer. And the format that he asks the question as it says that Yisrael isin tshuva miyadheim l'gol yidnag tshuva. There is another expression of Chazal ein Yisrael l'gol and ela b'tshuva, the Jewish people redeemed only through tshuva. So the fact that there is the world the way it looks today is how do we spirit the fact that we're speaking about Mashiach coming imminently and there's still Yidden that are not with the program. So the first thing that Rabbi says is that the Gemara says that through one hirur tshuva, one thought of tshuva, one becomes a tzaddik gadol. This is a halacha. We talked about this a number of times. The halacha is that if a man gives kiddushin to a woman, and he says to her, "You should be mukadeshes to me," on condition that I am a tzaddik gadol, condition that I'm a perfect tzaddik. Only if I'm a perfect tzaddik should the kiddushin be done. Otherwise, it's no good. Yeah. Then, and the woman accepts it. And then she goes to the Bezdin, and she says, "What do I do now? I accept the condition from this man on condition that he's a tzaddik gadol. I realize it wasn't maybe such a good idea. And do I need a get? What's the situation?" So the halacha is obviously the first thing we want to do is send out a fact-finding mission to find out if the person's a tzaddik gadol, right? So we find out that he eats on Yom Kippur, drives on Shabbos, does a few other things that are not so appropriate, and he doesn't seem to be very close to the tzaddik gadol, right? So at first glance, you would say that the condition is null and void because it was on condition he's a tzaddik gadol. Halacha is that she needs a get. Why? Because how can we prove that a second before he gave her the kedushin, he didn't have a thought of tshuva? And with one thought of tshuva, a rasha gomer becomes a tzaddik gomer, right? So you can't evaluate a situation only by seeing what people are doing. You have to know what's going on in their minds and hearts. And there isn't a Jew, the Rebbe says, who hasn't had at least once, and probably many more times than once, a hearing tshuva, a thought of tshuva. That's something maybe a little bit a while ago you needed to believe that. Today we see a world where you see unbelievable things. You see people are literally reevaluating their values and what people are looking for, and people are interested in. It's amazing. So that's the first thing. Second thing is that, generally speaking, nowadays, people that are not keeping Torah mitzvah, it's usually for one reason. And that is, they weren't taught to keep Torah. Their tinok shenishba. Tinok shenishba is a halachic term. The child was kidnapped as a baby and raised among Gentiles and was never exposed to the Yiddishkeit, never taught the values of Yiddishkeit. And he doesn't keep Shabbos, he doesn't keep Yom Kippur, he doesn't eat Matzah on Pesach, he doesn't hear Shekar. Nobody ever told him that he should. Yeah, so you can't hold him culpable and responsible for the things that he's doing or not doing out of ignorance, because he doesn't know. So, being that the vast majority of Yidden today who are not keeping Torah mitzvahs only because they are in the category of mitzvahs, they were never educated. You can't hold that against them. At the same time, the other side of the coin is when one of these people who were never educated in the ways of Yidden, and nevertheless they find their way back to Yidden, and they start keeping Torah and mitzvahs, and they start keeping Shabbos, they start keeping Parshas, they put up a mezuzah, they put on film, they run Shabbos candles. The impact that this makes in heaven is tremendous. Here's a Jew who's coming from nowhere. He knows nothing. By the natural course of events, he should spend his whole life doing nothing because he was never taught to do anything. He wasn't raised that way. He wasn't brought up that way. He didn't have any role models to emulate. And nevertheless, somehow he found his way. He or she found their way back to Yiddishkeit. And they're doing mitzvahs, even if they do one mitzvah. It's an amazing thing. Imagine the impact that has on her. That's the second thing. Then, and again, we look at the world today. We see the across the globe the interest, the desire that it's expressing itself in so many ways. Yidden film and tzitzis and Shabbos candles and separating challah and the language that people are speaking about Hashem's help, looking for us, searching for Hashem, close with Hashem. It's something which who would have predicted this 4 months ago? So we're so close to Mashiach. Then the Rebbe quotes a pasuk, and it says, "Mikel kamoicha." Who is a God like you? Noisei Avin, Va'evin al Pesha, bear sin, pass over transgression. L'sheiris nachalasei, for the remainder of his inheritance. Le'hechzik lo'ad apa, he will not hold his wrath forever. He chafetz chesed hu, because he desires kindness. And the Mefarshim on this pasuk explain that sheiris nachalasei, the remainder of his inheritance, is after the birth pangs of Mashiach, which previous generation has seen its full-blown Holocaust and everything, yeah. So that ember that spared from the flames, which is the generation of Yidden that we have today, after the Chavlei Mashiach, that's called Sheiris Nachalasa, the remainder of his life. So when it comes to this, the Eibishter will ignore whatever issues there are that could stand in the way. Eibishter will look past them. Like Hechzig La'ad Ape, he won't hold his wrath forever, he's won't hold against them. Chafetz Chesed, the Eibishter wants kindness. And actually, in our there's a pasuk that we say, our nusach we say when we call the Filos Apayim after Shemasa. So there's two customs of which kapitel was said after the Filos Apayim. The custom that the Arizal goes by and we follow in our siddur is that we say the kapitel the David Eilecha Hashem B'Ashiyas, and it concludes with the pasuk. Hashem should redeem Yidden from all their sons. And then we add another pasuk from Shir Amaylis. It doesn't come from that capital. He will redeem the Jewish people from all their sins. So the Rebbe points out that the order of these two psukim is first first Hashem should redeem the Jewish people from all their troubles. And then he will redeem the Jewish people from all their sins. So in the situation that we find ourselves today, the Eibush is ready to do it in that order. First, redeem Yidden from all the tzara, send us Mashiach, and take us out of those. And if there's any issues that are still outstanding, then he'll sort that out. So we can be optimistic and positive and simcha, and know that Mashiach is coming imminently, and we will see tremendous wonders and tremendous chesed kindness from Hashem in the most incredible way. We spoke about before, Be'ita Nachishena. Yeah, the question was, you said you thought Mashiach was coming Be'ita. Is that what you said? Okay, so we mentioned before, the Pasuk says, Ani Hashem Be'ita Achishena. In its time, I will hasten it. And the Gemara asks, it seems to be a contradiction. Is he coming in his time or will he be hastened? The Gemara says that Zachu Achishena, Yidden are meritorious and be hastened. If they're not meritorious, they'll come anyway, they'll come in his time. So today we see, so many merits, Baruch Hashem. Yidden there's so many incredible things going on. We see Yidden have skusim, unbelievable skusim. Yidden that were raised with Yiddishkeit, Yidden that weren't raised with Yiddishkeit, that know nothing about Yiddishkeit. Yidden who up to a few months ago were considered themselves anti-Yiddishkeit, Rahman Islam, because of the upbringing that they had. And nevertheless, today there's such a excitement and a yearning to come closer to the Eibishter. The Zachu is unbelievable. So for sure it's going to be Achishen. Besides the fact that We don't know when the Ve'ita is. The Ve'ita could have already passed, and it's definitely imminent. Okay, so to move on to Tanya, unless there are any other questions on the subject that we must discuss. Right. So you're saying the Yaakov Avinu wanted to reveal the Geula because he was focused on it. He was looking for things from his own spectacle, from his own madreg. That Itaka says that there's two opinions in Chazal when the says this, did the Shechina depart from him, or did the knowledge of the Ketz depart? In other words, one in some of the Mamar Chazal to describe this event, it says that he wanted to reveal the Ketz, the Nistal Kamimen, and it departed from him. So he didn't have the information anymore. So he couldn't reveal it. So he had to tell him other things. Other Amar Chazal say the Shechina departed. But he still retained the information. But he felt the Shechina departing from him, so it was a sign that he shouldn't reveal. So the question is, was it important for Yaakov Avinu himself? Did he need to know it or did he not need to? So this has to do with what you're saying. Yaakov Avinu was on a very high madreg. He was on a big serious. And on his level, it didn't affect him in the least bit. But his children and future generations were not necessarily on that madreg. Nevertheless, Yaakov Avinu was aware of that. He wanted to reveal it to them because he wanted to inspire them that they should put in the maximum to make it happen as quickly as possible. And the point that this sikha is making to us is that yes, that would have worked, but that would not have made a kind of geula that the Eibush had in mind that should be steadfast and eternal and should withstand the challenges of time. Go over to Tanya. So we are at the very end of Perek Mem Tes, chapter 49. Pages of a minute. It's page Ayin, the numbers on top of the page, and 261. Okay, the numbers on the bottom of the page is 261, 262. Thank you. We're up to the middle of the page. The line starts with the word Hashem. Page Ayin, which is 261, 262. The number on the bottom is 261. The end of Perek Mem Tes. You have an ayin on top of the page, right? And the middle of the page is a line that starts with the words Hashem Yichyeh. Yeah, and we're up to the word Umikol Mafim. Okay, so we were discussing that as a result of the Shema Yisrael, Hashem Elokeinu, Hashem Echad, the Jew gets the message that Hashem is our God and Hashem is one. Everything, all our strength comes from Hashem. Our existence comes from Him. Our sustenance comes from Him. Our strength comes from Him. Our health comes from Him. Everything comes from Him. And Hashem Echad, Hashem is one and only, there's nothing else besides Him. So the more we contemplate on this, especially with the introduction that we had in the Birchas, where we spoke about the fact that Hashem loves us so much, and we spoke about Hashem's incredible love for the Jewish people, that He contracted Himself into the lowest realm to create the human being because of His love for Klal Yisrael. So all this leads us to feel, when we focus on Shema Yisrael, Hashem Elokeinu, Hashem Echad, it causes a V'ahavtas Hashem Elokecha, it inspires us to love Hashem. B'chol levavcha, with all your heart, b'chol nafscha, with all your soul, b'chol meidecha, with all your might. So it brings the person to want to cleave to Hashem, to want to forsake, just like Hashem put everything aside, put all His celestial worlds aside, and contracted Himself to reach down to our realm, to create our physical realm, because of His love for Klal Yisrael, and giving them the mission of doing what has to be done here on this earth. So all the angels say, where's the place of his glory? Because they know that the place of Hashem's glory is not with them. They're not the ultimate purpose of creation. And the answer is, his glory is here on earth, where the Jewish people are. Because Avas Olam Avtanu Hashem Elokeinu, loved us Hashem with eternal love. Chemla Gedola V'Yiseda, a compassion which is great and more than. And we explained that what's the more than all the angels. Even though there's millions and billions of angels that are standing with incredible love and fear of Hashem and at his service and glorifying him and everything, Hashem says, I'm interested in you here in this earth doing a mitzvah. And because of Hashem's incredible love for Klal Yisrael, he sets everything aside and focuses on the creation of this physical world with a human being who is going to fulfill the mission that our Baruch has for us. So when we contemplate on Shema Yisrael, Hashem Elokeinu, Hashem Elokeinu, that causes we explained before that we should be prepared to give everything away in order to devote ourselves to Hashem. Nothing should matter, nothing should be more important to us than our relationship with Him. And then it says, should teach them to your children, and you should speak in them. Which means, how do we take this incredible love for Hashem and make it real, actually express it? We do so through studying with Him. Why through studying with Him? So we explained that love is expressed through a kiss. And a kiss has two aspects to it. A kiss is mouth to mouth, but the kiss expresses spirit to spirit. In the study of Torah, you have both these aspects, because the Torah is the wisdom of Hashem. And when a person understands the wisdom of Hashem, there is a cleaving of spirit to spirit. The words of Torah are the mouth of Hashem. And when we, with our mouths, speak the words of Torah, then we are having a mouth-to-mouth connection with Hashem. So the Ahavtos Hashem Elokecha, this incredible love that we have to Hashem, is expressed through kissing Hashem. How do you kiss Hashem? You kiss Hashem by studying Torah. Because just like Torah, just like a kiss is a spirit-to-spirit connection, which is expressed by the mouth, so the study of Torah is a spirit-to-spirit connection with Hashem, which is expressed by saying the words of Torah. Now, this is what we learned up until here. Now, from here it seems that just like in the kiss, the main connection is spirit to spirit, but it's manifest through the mouth. Similarly, you would think that with the relationship that we have with Hashem, what mainly counts is that Hashem's spirit, which is in His wisdom, connects with our spirit, our understanding. And the saying the words is only external. It's only an external manifestation of what's going on internally, the spirit-to-spirit connection. But we find the halacha that the only way that one can fulfill the mitzvah of Talmud Torah is when one says the words, or if one hears the words. Because Shemei Kaina, just like every other mitzvah that has to be fulfilled verbally, like making kiddush, benching, making a bracha, you hear it from someone else, you're also yaitze, because hearing is the same as saying. Similarly, if you're listening to a shiur or you're listening to a brusa, you're also fulfilling the mitzvah of the dibar tabam. But there needs to be a certain speaking in order to fulfill the mitzvah. Now, if the main idea of the mitzvah is the spirit-to-spirit connection, and the mouth-to-mouth is only the output of that connection, then why would the halacha put such an emphasis on the speaking part? So the Alter Rebbe continues, where we're up to now. When we call makim, nevertheless, one does not fulfill one's obligation of studying Torah just by thinking and by looking into things deeply. You have to enunciate the words with your lips. Why do you have to enunciate the words with your lips? Why is it so important to involve your lips and your mouth in the interaction with Hashem that is achieved through the studying of Torah? And he says the reason is, as we explained already, we spoke about this already in chapter 37. It's in order to draw down the infinite light, the light of the infinite one, blessed be, all the way down to this world, into the life-giving soul which dwells in man's blood. As we know that there's the godly soul is a spiritual, godly entity. It happens to be that now it's enclosed in the body. So when you're living in the world of thought and understanding and comprehension, it's the experience of the neshama. It happens to be the neshama is now enclosed in a body, so the neshama is thinking and understanding through a physical brain. But the understanding and thinking are properties of the neshama. The neshama was in heaven, it was also capable of thinking and understanding. Speaking, however, is a property of the body. And what gives life to the body is the life-giving animal soul. Nefesh HaChiyunis Habamis, the life-giving animal soul gives life to the body. So when a person speaks words of Torah, his physical body, which is getting life from his life-giving animal soul, which is nourishing from the blood, Adamu Anefesh, right? And the blood is the soul. And where does the blood come from? The blood comes from the food and drink that we eat and consume. That creates the blood. So when we're involving ourselves physically in the service of Hashem, we're not only lifting up our spiritual dimension, we're also drawing down godliness and lifting up our physical existence. So to bring down the Eirin Saf all the way down into the life-giving soul, which dwells in the blood of man, and the blood is created by the food that we eat, which is a combination of mineral, vegetable, and animal. So when we digest the food and it turns into blood, and that gives us energy, physical energy, and we use that physical energy to fulfill physical mitzvahs. And in the case of the study of Torah, we pronounce the words with our physical articulative tools, our teeth, our lips, our tongue, our throat. These are all physical parts of the body that have physical energy in them, and that physical energy is being used in the service of Hashem. So the life-giving animal soul and the body are all being elevated to Hashem or drawing down Hashem's presence into their midst. And it also affects the food that the person has consumed, which come from the kingdoms of mineral, vegetable, and animal, are also godliness is being drawn down upon them as well. Now, the way he explained it before, he said, to draw down the infinite light of Hashem all the way down to the life-giving soul that is dwelling in the blood that is created from the mineral, vegetable. Yeah. Now he's changing direction a little bit. In order to elevate them all to Hashem. Now let me just explain what the purpose of this change of direction is. We started by saying that the reason why saying the words is such a basic part of the experience of Torah learning, connecting to Hashem to Torah learning, is because we want to draw down godliness into the physical realm. That's the purpose. The purpose is to make a dira b'taftainim. We have to make a dwelling place for Hashem in the lowest realm. And this lowest realm includes not only the human kingdom, it also includes the animal kingdom, vegetable kingdom, and the mineral kingdom. So how do we do that? We do that by performing practical mitzvahs, including by speaking the words of Torah. And through that, we're drawing down godliness into this. Now, when you read these words at first glance, we seem to be doing two things of it. On one hand, we said that when you say Shema Yisrael Hashem Elokeinu Hashem, it leads you and inspires you. V'ahavtos Hashem Elokeinu. You want to love Hashem, which means you want to leave your existence and cleave to Hashem. So the direction is rising upward, escaping from the constraints of the physical existence and fusing with Hashem. Then we say, but so why is it important to say the words? Why can't it all just be a spiritual experience? I said, no, because we need to draw down godliness into the physical realm. Okay, I get it. But then we're saying two things. We're saying we're striving to rise upward and become included in Hashem, cleave to Hashem. And we also want to draw down Hashem's presence into the physical world, and therefore we have to say the word. Right? So is this two projects, or is this two parts of one project? So for this, the Alter Rebbe clarifies it. He says that drawing down godliness into this world is in order to lift them all up to Hashem, together with the whole world, and have them fused in His oneness and in His light, which will shine upon this earth and upon all those who inhabit it in a revealed way. So he's basically saying, you should feel this yearning and this passion to love Hashem and to rise up and be fused with Hashem. But don't come on your own. Bring all your baggage with you. Your physical body needs also to come with you in this experience. Your animal soul needs to join you. Your physical existence, together with the food and drink that you have consumed, should all be part of this rising up to Hashem. Hashem wants the full package. So if you're just going to serve Him with your mind and your wisdom, your soul is going to rise up to Hashem, but you're leaving your body behind. The idea is that this rising up to Hashem and fusing with Hashem should incorporate and should carry with it the body and the animal soul and the food, and everything should come with it. And in order for that to happen, you have to speak the words. And Shazehu, Shiur the glory of Hashem will be revealed in this world. And all flesh will see that the mouth of Hashem has spoken. And this is the ultimate purpose, which all the worlds, the whole system, was put into motion. The glory of Hashem should fill this physical earth in His revealed way. So remember, we had when we spoke about the malachim, which we speak about in the first bracha of Parshas. So we speak about how the malachim praise Hashem. What do they say? They say, Kadosh, 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 Hashem's voice. Hashem is far beyond us. As spiritual as we are, as celestial as we are, as holy as we are, we don't come anywhere near the infinite essence of Hashem, which is Kadosh, it's holy and separated. It's far beyond us. Then, but where is Hashem's glory? Where can we find this infinite essence of Hashem? And the answer the Malachim say is only on earth. Only on earth, where a Yid does a physical mitzvah, that's where you find the essence of it. So the Tachlis Kalesh Talshlos, the ultimate purpose of the entire chain of worlds, the highest worlds, going all the way down through the system until you come down here. The Tachlis of everything is that the glory of Hashem should fill this physical world. It's in His Gilead in a revealed way. To transform the darkness into light. Now, darkness means where the presence of Hashem is not felt. In other words, the celestial realms, by their own nature, have an awareness of Hashem's presence. Each world, according to its limitations, according to its character, but generally speaking, the celestial realms have an awareness of Hashem's presence. Therefore, they are worlds of light. Our physical world is a world of darkness. It's a world that by its own nature is completely unaware of Hashem's presence. It's a world of darkness. It's a world that is, the message that the physical realm gives out is that it's all about me. It doesn't tell you about Hashem. It doesn't draw your interest to Hashem. And when the Yid comes along in the physical world and turns it round into a place of holiness by living his life in accordance with the Torah and the mitzvahs, learning the Torah, performing the mitzvahs in the physical realm, and involving all the physical things that he comes in contact with into the project of revealing Hashem's greatness. So that's the transformation of darkness into light. And we know that when darkness is transformed into light, it makes a much greater light than ordinary light. Bitterness turned into sweetness. And al barichas, as we discussed previously at length, when we spoke about the medrash, this avak, that the ultimate purpose of creation is that Hashem wants to have a dwelling place in the lowest realm. So we explained the definition of lowest. Lowest means place where Hashem's presence is most concealed. And there you make a dwelling for the essence of Hashem, because the transformation of darkness into light and bitterness into sweetness is what draws down the essence of Hashem. This is what a person's intention, ultimate intention, should be in the service of Hashem, to draw down the infinite light of Hashem down to this world. Now, again, we're stuck with a problem. Where are we putting the focus? Are we putting the focus on us rising up to Hashem? Are we putting the focus on drawing down godliness into this world? We said that Tachlis Kolosh Talpus, the whole purpose of the whole chain of worlds, is to bring godliness down into this world, transform darkness into light, and bitterness into sweetness. How does this fit with Ve'ahavtas Hashem Elokecha, that you have a desire to become totally spiritual and totally godly? Love Hashem with all your heart, all your soul. So the Alter Rebbe explains in the last line of the chapter that really both these things go very well together. They're not two different things. They actually fit together very well. And that is that there's a principle. What Kabbalah refers to as halas mayim nukvin, the elevation of feminine waters, and hamshachas mayim dechurin, the drawing down of masculine. So there is the giver and the recipient. So the recipient shows a desire to connect with and to receive from the giver. And that inspires the giver to have more enthusiasm in giving. Like a student, take a classroom. You have a student and a teacher. The more the teacher sees the student's enthusiasm to learn, the more the teacher gives him of himself. So the nature of relationship is that the more the recipient shows a yearning and a desire to rise up to the giver, the more the giver is inspired to reach out to the recipient. So in the relationship, where does all this come from? This all comes from the initial relationship between giver and recipient, which is Hashem and us. So in order to bring down the Ein Sof, the infinite light of Hashem, in its entirety, into this world, there needs to be an elevation of the world to Hashem. So the first needs to be an elevation of feminine waters, to give over to Hashem our soul and our strength, our might, give everything away to Hashem. In other words, this idea of you should love Hashem with all your heart, all your soul, and all your might. In other words, be ready to give up everything for Hashem. You want to drop everything and just fuse with Hashem. That is the halas mayim nukvin. That is the elevation of feminine waters that elicits the drawing down of the Ein Sof down to this earth. So since the tachlis with Hashem created the world was liyas leis barach to be a dwelling place for Hashem in the lowest ground, to draw down the infinite light of Hashem into this dark world and make it a place where godliness will be fully revealed. In order to achieve that, it can't just be done by dry actions. There needs to be enthusiasm put into the actions. There needs to be a yearning and to reach up to Hashem and become fused with Him. And this is connected. This has to be the life force that inspires the actions that bring Hashem's presence down into this world. But when you have the yearning of the recipient to reach up to the giver, that causes the giver to come down in fullest sense, and that the glory of Hashem will fill the physical world, and that is the tachlis for which the world was created, and that is basically the ultimate revelation of godliness in the coming of Mashiach and Kiyas HaMesim, when godliness will become fully revealed without any concealments whatsoever in this physical realm. Are there any questions? I'd like to say everything's so simple, there's no questions. It's not so simple. Say the words of the Shema. No, it's not saying just words. We're saying that the words have a meaning. And it's not enough to just be aware of the meaning. You also need to say the words, because when you say the words, you're involving your physical existence into the equation. So you're drawing down godliness, not only into the realm of the spiritual, you're also drawing down godliness into the realm of the physical. But obviously, when you say the words, you have to know what the words mean. You have to be involved in the spirit of the matter. In essence, there's really a difference in this between Torah Shebiksav and Torah Shebal Peh. Torah Shebiksav, the written law, and Torah Shebal Peh, the oral law. In Torah Shebal Peh, only the content is Torah. The words themselves are not. In Torah Shebiksav, the words themselves are Torah. So that's why in Torah Shebal Peh, if you say words and you don't understand what you're saying, you're not fulfilling the mitzvah of Talmud Torah. Because the words themselves are not the point. The point is the content of it. But in Torah Shebiksav, in the written Torah, Chumash, Tehillim, over there, the words themselves are Torah. Besides the meaning, the words themselves. That's why a person has an aliyah. It's called up to the Torah. He's read to him from the Torah. He doesn't understand one word. He can still make the bracha. Because the words themselves are Torah. The fact that he heard the words already fulfilled the mitzvah of Torah. But by Torah Shebal Peh, that's not the case. By Torah Shebal Peh, you need to also understand what you're saying. but you still have to say the words in order to be Yetz the mitzvah. And this is this combination that we're talking about over here today. How you have the spiritual dimension of it and the physical dimension of it are both very, very important. Even if you don't understand what you're saying, but if you said the words, you fulfill the mitzvah. The Hillim also. Yeah, Tillim has an additional benefit, also Tefillah. When you're saying Tillim, it's also Tefillah. And David HaMelech was mispalo, and when a Yid says Tillim, it should be considered as worthy as the most complicated Masechtas of Shas. You're going for all of this. So Tillim is a very, very special. Of course. Silent means a whisper. Okay. So let me just first of all, let me repeat your question for the people that are watching on the listening on the Zoom. Question was about the Amida. That is, it says that it's a silent prayer. Therefore, sometimes we think that it's just meant to look at the words. So, as far as I understand, that's a misconception. You are meant to say the words of the Amida. At least move your lips. We don't want to disturb anybody else's concentration, and therefore we try to avoid doing it in a way that will disturb other people's concentration. But we definitely has to be a movement of the lips when we doubt. If a person is not capable of doing that, then the purpose of Chazaras Hashat, the purpose of the Shliach Tzibur, of the Chazan repeating the Amidah, that in the Talmudic times there were people who were very ignorant and they didn't know how to read, they were illiterate, and they would come to shul and they couldn't say the Amidah. So the sages instituted that the Chazan should repeat the Amidah, and those people should stand by and listen and answer Amen, and it's considered as if though they said it. But if a person is capable of saying it on their own, then they should say it on their own. I'm not aware of any lenient for a person who is capable of saying the Amidah to just follow inside of us. I believe so. And if I make a mistake, I the only answer based on limited knowledge. Yes. Yeah. Okay, so the question was, when you're learning Chumash and Rashi, do you have to say the words of Rashi? The word you used was allowed. Okay, so allowed is a good thing if you're not disturbing other people, but you're not obligated to say it. You say it in a whisper, you're also Yetzer the mitzvah. But you should say the words. Unless you're hearing it from someone else, you should say the words. By Rashi as well. Because Rashi is also saying. The only thing is that by Chumash, even if you don't understand what you're saying, you're fulfilling the mitzvah. Better to understand. But by Rashi, you need to understand in order to fulfill the mitzvah. What if you don't understand? Should you say it anyway? Probably. It's a good thing. It's healthy for your neshama. But the mitzvah of Talmud Torah you can only fulfill by Teresh and if you understand what you're saying. All these Mefarshim are Torah, and when you learn them, if it's possible to say it along, it's the correct thing. Mefarshim are Torah Shabbat. Hashem gave Moshe Rabbeinu the Torah. He gave him the written Torah, and alongside with the written Torah, he gave him all the commentary. All the commentary was given to Moshe Rabbeinu B'Siyum. It's all Torah. Torah Shabbat and Torah Shabbat. Yeah, okay. They say that, I hear you. Not every paper that you read that comes along, you have to necessarily say, I'll buy that. But Torah, you should say. Yes. Mm-hmm. Okay, so there is a concept, which the Gemara says, that, yes, I should repeat the question. The question was, what if a person can read with their eyes, but it's difficult for them to say the words? And if they say the words, sometimes it's distracting. They get caught up with the challenge of pronouncing the words and stress. So there is a concept in the Gemara who says that when you study and you're looking into something with depth, and at that moment, saying the word will distract you from properly integrating what you're reading, then it is okay not to say the words. So probably that would apply in the case that you're referring to. But when possible, it's always best to say the words for all the reasons that we learned here today. Okay, we'll hold it over here. And next week there will not be a shiur. Undertaken to speak in the boys' school for inset. So shiur will continue, Mr. Hashem, in 2 weeks' time.
Thank you very much.